Hey, what's up guys, TotallyDubbed here, and today I'm doing a pre-release overview of a phone that's not quite finalized, that's in my hand right now. But the reason I'm making this video is because I'd like to draw your attention to actually affordable phones that can be bought out there in the market. The interesting thing is this phone comes in around £100 and it will be running Android 4.4. In this version right now it's running Android 4.1.2. The specs of this phone are decent, although not absolutely great. They kind of compete with the Moto G. I'll link down in the description below the specs, but just to summarize, it has a 4GB or 8GB internal storage with 1GB of RAM, 32GB expandable with a micro SD card. It's got a quad-core 1.2 GHz CPU. It's got dual SIM capabilities. It's got an 8 megapixel back rear camera with flash and a front-facing 2 megapixel camera, and its screen is a 1960 x 540 4.3 inch screen. So as you can see, the specs aren't something that I'm going to go, wow, massive, crazy, you know, I definitely need that in my life. But it's a phone that is definitely going to get you through your day-to-day use, and you're going to enjoy the performance. I've got to say, I played around with it, I've just factory resetted it essentially, and I've really enjoyed using this phone. Despite it using only 4.1.2, I've got to say its fluidity has been ridiculously good. As it's running stock Android and doesn't seem like there's any bloatware or anything like that that's been installed, as you'll be able to see over here. It really is a great phone in terms of that. There's very little that's been actually added in to ruin that type of experience, which is great for people that like stock Android. I've got to say its battery life has been sensational. I've used it mainly without a SIM at the moment, and I left it quite a lot on idle, and the battery life has just been absolutely insane. Let me just go into the battery compartment, and as you can see, 2 days, 9 hours, but it's 40%. You'll be able to see that, you know, display isn't even on there. So in terms of like the actual display usage has been very, very minimal, because as I said, it's been mainly on standby ever since I reset it. But when I was using it with a SIM card, the call quality was decent, and the speaker quality was good as well. The camera isn't something that you should really go by. As you said, it's 8 megapixel. It's not the best to go by, but it will get you through those day-to-day snaps. The good thing about this is that it's got a removable back, and right now I couldn't remove the battery. If I'm not mistaken, it is not a removable battery, but you can remove the back, and you can access the SIM slots. So I'll just do that. So yeah, you've got the SIM slots over here, and you've got the micro SD expansion over there. So it's actually quite nice that you can actually remove the back, and you know, potentially someone could come up with a mod, or you know, the manufacturer could say, you know what, we want a removable battery. As you can see at the bottom over here, it's almost got like a Nexus-esque touch over here, and it's very, very responsive in its actions, and you've got little vibrations obviously which go on very responsively when each time you touch these little buttons on the side. So overall, this phone is a decent phone. I can't really say much more about it, simply because this is not the finalized product, and it would be unfair for me to make a judgment on that in terms of software, in terms of hardware, in terms of looks and design. You know, the branding and things aren't even there, and you know, software-wise is going to be a big thing. You know, because that changes the dynamic of the phone completely. But as far as I can test right now, in terms of a pre-release phone and having it in my hands. It's an honor to actually have it in my hands before most people might do, but it's quite cool to actually see a budget phone with decent specs and actually competing with a huge supergiant like Motorola / you know, at that time having funding from Google. So you know, £100 for a phone like this is very, very affordable, and very nice to see. More so, what's really exciting about this phone is actually its the future software support, and by that I mean it's not confirmed yet, but Spur said to me that they are working with several ROM makers to produce ROM specifically for the phone, and therefore allowing different variations of the phone to come out with different ROM support. So that would be really, really cool. Imagine seeing something like CM installed on stock on this, or seeing something like, I don't know, Paranoid ROM or something like that stuck on this, you know, as stock, coming straight from the manufacturer. That is really exciting to hear, and it's something that I think would be very interesting to see, especially in this day and age where loads of companies are just bloating and not really listening to developers. This would seem a nice step in the right direction, going towards how developers want a phone to be, and a manufacturer saying, okay, we'll listen to the developers and we'll work with the developers in order to get a better experience of the phone. So that's great to see, and that's what really excites me. So, you know, there's the fact that it's a cheap phone at a decent spec, you know, a reasonable spec. It's not like crazy LG G3 specs. But it's also, in terms of software-wise, in terms of developer-wise, very encouraging to hear. So this could be a really good phone, and I can't wait to review the final version of it and actually look at it. But at the moment, I'm just going to keep it as a placeholder. I'm not going to do a written review or anything like that. I'm just going to make this video in order just to say, look, there's things out of that, and you know, maybe bigger companies should also take note because it's great to see things like this actually developing in the community and in the world. Alright guys, well, I've been Totally Dubbed. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Make sure you let me know your comments below about the phone, or about what your thoughts are generally about cheaper phones or the specs, for example. As I said, it's not a proper review, it's more of an overview more than anything, and a pre-release. Yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed it. Alright guys, Totally Dubbed out. Bye bye.